Welcome to the Rise as One podcast, episode 15 already. This is crazy how fast time flies. I am so excited today. Happy Monday, everybody. There's something about Mondays. I just love Mondays. I know a lot of people out there do not like Mondays. There's something about Mondays I really enjoy because that sets the tone for my entire week. Whatever I do on Monday, that's what my Friday is going to look like. So I'm very tuned into what's going on. For all you guys out there, school is out. I know you're very excited. It was a long school year here in the Northeast. We had snowstorms, tornadoes, and rainstorms and trees down and power outages. It was crazy, crazy year. But I tell you one thing, I love Mondays. I love being here every week for you guys, sharing my insights. I am beyond honored to have a special guest all the way from Nicaragua. If you guys don't know where Nicaragua is, it's between Costa Rica and Honduras. Gianmarco Palazzo, welcome to the Rise as One podcast. I am beyond honored to have you here, brother. You've been going through a storm upon storm upon storm. We will get into that in a little bit, but thank you, my brother, for being here.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited.
Absolutely, man. I know I've been following your posts, and for those of you who don't know it, Gianmarco and I belong to the Next Level Experience. So Raul Velasquez, if you're watching this, thank you for the use of the studio. This is amazing here. We absolutely love it. We came in town today. I came down especially just to be here with Gianmarco. He came here especially to be with me because ultimately proximity is power, accountability, association with like-minded men, entrepreneurs, people that want to take things to another level.
Exactly, and the emotion and the energy that you bring to everything you do, Joe, is exemplary, and I always want to be around it as much as I can, so how could I say no?
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it, but I don't know where to start. There's so much. I was reading your bio this morning. So Gianmarco sent me this bio. I'm going to like, what hasn't this guy done? I said, how am I supposed to talk about this? I'm going to need like a whole TV show for 24 hours. So I said, can we break it down a little bit? But no, seriously, brother, you've done a lot of things in your lifetime. I'm honored to be associated with you. I learned so much from you. I read your posts.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it. We've been blessed with a lot of successes along the way, but also a lot of challenges and failures that rounds us out and makes us humble individuals along the way, and also allows us to grow and build our capacity every day.
Absolutely. So I wrote a couple of those things down on here. So just to break it all down for you guys out there listening audience, if you're watching this on SoundCloud, on Facebook Live, or on iTunes, just know that he's from Nicaragua. He is a leader and a great depth and insight. I remember you came to my house about a year and a half ago. Yep. And I didn't even know you went through the live experience yet. So I'm sitting there just having this conversation in my head. We're going to go out golfing. We're going to go to the experience. And all of a sudden I realized you were going through the event. And Raul was like, what's going on? You can't do that. But I was able to separate myself from the friendship side of it to ultimately give you the experience that made you stronger for this storm you're going through right now, I believe.
Yeah.
It's part of why we do what we do.
Yeah, every time we expose ourselves to an experience, and especially the live experience of the Next Level Experience, is such a life-changing and corner-turning event in your life, because I came away from that initial experience after being in the program for almost 2 years before going to a live experience, and I had gotten the discipline through the program that helped me achieve and move on to higher levels in my performance in life, in relationships, in emotions, in business, and in leadership. So after that live experience, it just took it to another level.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. So some of the other things I wrote down here about Gianmarco: he's the president of multiple businesses, hundreds of employees. Right now, your business is in turmoil back in Nicaragua from all the storms that happened there. Another one of your businesses over in Guatemala got hit with a volcano. So it's like storm after storm. Yeah. This is not like I was talking about a tornado that I was going through. And now that I see your storm, yeah, I'm taking my storm back, brother, because what you're going through right now, this is real.
Yeah, these are real challenging times for us in Central America, Nicaragua. You know, maybe not all the listeners know, but we're going through a political situation that's essentially a peaceful revolution against a government that is bringing violence upon its citizens with no response, and it's pretty much a massacre. We're almost at 350 dead in 75 days. So I think it's important to get the message out there, the situation in Nicaragua, and something that we hope to eventually resolve as Nicaraguan citizens in the very near future, and bring back peace to a very peaceful and wonderful country and citizenship that we are.
And you just look at the 4th of July just passed, Independence Day. And actually, I mentioned you not by name, but by where you were from in that podcast. And as I sit here in front of you today, brother, I honor you for being able to go through that storm. And then it's just kind of ironic as I was looking down your bio, how you have a safety protection device company where you have to have, what's that, the bulletproof vest that you guys manufacture and stuff like that too?
Yeah, well, it's some of the products that we sell. We're in industrial safety, but we also do some personal safety items. And for the first time, this is the first time in my life I have to wear
your own products.
Wear something like that.
Talk about putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
I hope this stuff works.
Yeah. Well, don't want to test it out. So. But yeah, it's challenging times, and thankfully, and I pray and so grateful every day that me and my family are in a privileged situation. There's millions of Nicaraguans that cannot get out of the country, or they don't have the means to. And they're limited, and their options are limited, or they are now out of a job. There's been huge amounts of unemployment created because of the situation, and that's creating huge crisis in the country as well. So
talk about that a little bit. What does that look like when you're out of a job? So, you even had some layoffs in your company. So you let people go. What do they do when you're in this country that's full of turmoil?
Well, you have a lot of faith. You have a lot of faith, and you look for the certainty that you can grab onto, obviously, and I think that just brings up the point of preparing for the rainy days, of preparing yourself for when the storms and the battles come, and that's why preparing yourself in peacetime, and I think those are the things you talk about here a lot on the Rise as One podcast, are so important, because usually we just sail along through the peacetime rather than challenging ourselves voluntarily and consciously. And I think that's where many people fail, because challenges are going to come, storms are going to come, and when that storm arrives, if you're not ready and you're not battle proven, then you're going to have a really tough time. So I think that we find this financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and these challenges will arise. And we have to be ready to confront our tunnels. I've gone through various of my own tunnels, and I have a lot of conscious and documented experience of that. Thankfully, with being associated with people like you, Raul, and many other organizations.
Yeah, and you're actually an author now. You just wrote a book, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So I'm excited to read this book, because I know there's a lot of great insights in that book. So I definitely want to put a plug in for your book. We'll talk about that, talk about name and where we can get that book. So I definitely want to order that. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading that book. It's going to be something of a great honor. So thank you for that as well. And then talk about your kids. I know you were talking about on an Inner Circle call a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned it on the call, and I got very emotional just downloading what was going on at that moment, where you had your sit down.
Yeah.
As a family, a sit down. So you had a family sit down discussing about what's going to take place when you leave. And then you strategically made a plan where your family was going to leave first. You were going to stay behind, take care of the house, and then you were going to leave second. And you had that sit down conversation. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we had a family meeting, and my wife and I, we sat down, our 3 kids, 10, 9, and 7. And we pretty much said, okay, this is, we came out with it. You guys know that there's been so many things going on. You've seen the marches. You've seen, we've gone to the flag waving things and all that. But now it's getting dangerous. So we're gonna have to, leave the country, and we're gonna leave in 2 days. And we told them, what are you guys scared of? What are you afraid of that might happen? And I'm going to get a little choked up here, but, their initial responses were all about their nannies and their families, because they're friends with their kids and all their friends at school, and asking if they were going to come back and see them again. And, asking, because they could only take one suitcase with them. So, asking them about, asking us about their teddy bears and things like that. But mostly it was about the people who serve us on a daily basis. Then we asked, you have 48 hours left. What do you want to do in that time? And they said, well, we all have money. We have, our little savings accounts that they've acquired and they've saved up for. and they said, we want to donate some of our money to the students who were like leading the protests and being the examples of leading the citizen-led protest.
Beautiful.
And they were like their idols in that moment. And we want to help the sick and the sick people and the hospitals. So for medicine and safety. So they bought some gloves and things like that for the students. We donated that equipment, and then we donated the money that they wanted to give to the hospital that was attending, that they go to, that attends all the wounded from the bullet wounds, from all this violence.
And as I was listening to that on the call, I got very emotional. I was just thinking about this. I kind of closed my eyes. I meditated on what was transpiring in your mind as you're going through that. And I'm like, here are these kids, 10, 7, and 4.
And 9.
And 10, 9, and 7 years old that want to give back to their fellow countrymen, the people that they see every single day, the people that serve them. And you didn't even ask them to do that. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
To me, that was legacy. I was like, man, how do somebody in that short period of time make these kids go from where I want everything to I want to give everything?
Yeah. I'll take very little credit there. I think my wife is a huge example for all of us.
It's Marcella?
Yeah, Marcella's my wife. And
bless you, Marcella.
And she's a great example of leadership and giving. And she's my idol in that. So she raises the bar in that department for me, and I try to match her as much as I can, just because she's so good in that. And I think we've protected their innocence quite a bit. So I'd like to take some credit for that part, and being the disciplinarian and watching out there what they watch, what they say, who they spend time with, and how they spend their time. So I think that that's very important for children. They're going to lose that innocence inevitably. So I try to keep it as much as we can for the time we have.
And that's a lot of my same thought process in this Rise as One movement, as we rise as one as a family.
Yeah.
As you rise as one as a community. As you run as one as a nation. As you rise as one as a world, ultimately, everybody's not going to come with us. We know that. But eventually, many people will come us based upon who you are becoming.
Yeah, and I think that everyone has aspects of, whatever this energy is. And it's just a matter of tapping into it and making that fissure grow more and more and making it bigger, and having more habits in and around that energy. I think will add to that energetical revolution that you're talking about.
That's a great insight, because everything is energy, correct? Yeah. As you go to some place and somebody's like in a corner and they're feeling really down, and everybody goes, what's the matter? And all of a sudden everybody's energy drops to that level.
Yeah.
You got this guy over here being crazy, bouncing off the wall. What's going on here? And all the crazies go over and they bounce around the wall. So ultimately everything is energy. Which energy you want to be associated with?
Exactly. You align yourself with the energy. It's like the radio frequency. You want to listen to the football game, you're not going to put on the radio station for the news. So you got to tap into the right energy.
To whatever you want to tune into.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. So with that being said, who is John Marco Palacio? Oh. Who is he?
Well,
what gave you this drive after all 40 some odd years of building these businesses and doing all this stuff and raising a beautiful family? And I know you guys go out and you play soccer and you do all this stuff together. And where did all these thoughts come from?
I think, envisioning, I think being aware of energy at a young age, thankfully, because of my mother, she's very spiritually eclectic. So I was exposed to a lot of different thought processes and experiences. And she taught me how to be eclectic in life, which is experience as much as you can, and whatever resonates with you, bring that along on your ride. So, I've tried to bring along the nicest, lightest, most shiny rocks, and leaving behind out of my backpack the heaviest, dull, and most challenging rocks. So I say I'm in the business of rock throwing, not rock carrying.
I like that.
So I try to envision and create magic moments as well. I document them. My goal is 500 magic moments, whether it's mostly family and friends, and some of them personal, but mostly with others.
Are they in the book?
No, they're not in the book, but it's part of my daily metric documentation that I have.
So we're gonna have a sidebar next. I want to learn about some of these things. I want to steal some of your insights.
Yeah, of course.
Share some of that with Kathy back home
Yeah.
because we love the experiences in life. Ultimately,
Yeah,
we always thought about it was about money. It's about these nice fancy cars and how big of a house do I live in. Ultimately, it's about the experiences that we have in life.
Yeah, what I do mention in the book is that all my great successes and all the great moments that I've had in positioning my family to have a great moment or a magical moment has happened in my brain beforehand. So I've envisioned it, and then I believe I'm the creator to be able to manifest that into the physical realm. So that gives me the power and the facility to consistently do that on a consistent basis.
And I remember when I first got into the transformation world and personal development and stuff like this years ago, one of the first things someone said to me was, you have to visualize where you're going, see what's going to happen before it happens. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like hocus pocus to me. But as I got deeper and deeper into this, we know that for a fact, you can materialize
Completely.
your thoughts by your words, your actions, who you are.
Yeah, and that's why the spoken word is so important. That's why this podcast is so important. That's why the energy that you bring across is so important, because that thought form becomes the spoken word. That spoken word is an action, and it's an energy form that comes out, and other people receive that, and that's how you're able to not only help others but transform others, or give the opportunity to influence others, or throw a line out to somebody who's in need of something like that in that moment.
Wow, that's a lot of. I can't even comprehend that, man. I don't even have a college degree. I'm trying to take in all this information. I know you went to GIT, Georgia Institute of Technology, and all this stuff back in the '90s. Like, this guy's got some amazing insights. So if you have a chance to follow John Marco Palazzo. I'm sure he'll share on the bottom link of this podcast and where we can follow you, because I definitely want to see this journey, see where it's going, and I know that in the end, you will make it to where you're visualizing for you, your family, your businesses, your employees. A lot of people counting on you.
Yeah.
And I can see it in your eyes. I can see the certainty, a knowingness about you. You know who you are. You know where you're going, and you know it's going to be okay.
Thank you, brother.
Second question for you. What do you believe in? Like, why are you here? What do you believe in?
Well, I believe that we can, a lot of people give, going back to something we just touched on. So I think we can break cycles, and I think many people inherit cycles or legacies, for that matter, and they use them as excuses. So, my parents went through this, and that caused me, as children, the vast majority of our traumas are from our parents. And so, I had this one experience when I was in India at a meditation retreat, and the realization was that my parents did the very best they could with me, with what they knew and what they had in that moment, and their parents did the same with them. So, and we can go back all the way down the line. So there are these things called inherited legacies, or what Eckhart Tolle calls generational pain body. And so I believe we can break these cycles if they don't function in your favor. So if you use them as an excuse or a story to limit you, you can break them, whether that's inherited or created on your own. So I believe that we are creators, and I believe that we have the God-given gift to manifest whatever we desire. So I think that's what I believe in. So I've believed that since a very young age. And like I said, all the great moments I've had in my life, or the business successes that I've had to visualize them at a certain time beforehand, and I choose to invest my energy and my time and my actions behind them to manifest those and make them a reality.
And it's crazy as you say this. I've been listening to for the last 3 or 4 days? Eckhart Tolle. As I sleep, I put it on my phone and I listen to it, and I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's talking to me. I'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, he's talking to me. As I'm sleeping, I'm downloading the information this man's went through. If you guys haven't followed Eckhart Tolle, and you guys want to get spiritually connected, this guy's, I think he was going to commit suicide. And all of a sudden, he had this amazing breakthrough, and he had this conversation with the two minds. So basically, I posted about this on Facebook the other day, how it's not the situation, it's our thoughts about the situation that causes us so much pain and so much turbulence inside of our bodies.
Yeah. And then another realization I had at that retreat was that all events have the same value. And this is probably a little bit more controversial, but I think that, a car accident is just as valuable, has the same value as a smile of your child. It's just how you react to them. and people can say, well, obviously, there's a revolution in your country going on right now. How is that the same as, going playing soccer with your kids? Well, if we look at it long term and we look at the value that brings to you and how you interpret that and how you digest that in your own functioning, in your emotions, in your spirit, and what that does to you physically, mentally, emotionally, I believe that we can bring out the lowest common denominator in all events, and they'll have the same value.
It's funny you say that. On my ride down here, I'm doing some work for a guy right now who got hit with the tornado. His pool came down. I said, just go out, change the filter. We'll get the pool. He called me up in a frantic over a pool filter. I can't figure this out. I'm going to poke a hole in the pool. He started, and again, how we react to the circumstance is ultimately how the outcome's going to be.
Yeah. That's how you define your experience.
You define your experience.
I tell my kids all the time.
It's a great teaching tool, guys out there. Listen to that. Say that one more time.
You define your experience. You're gonna define for yourself what type of experience you're gonna have. But we're all gonna go out to dinner.
I love that. I love that. That is solid. See, I'm learning as we go through this. What does trusting the process mean to you? I know we talk a lot about this in the brother. Trust the process. Trust the process. Everything's building upon the next thing. What does trust the process mean to you?
Well, I think there's a huge component of faith and knowing that everything goes in cycles. Everything ebbs and flows. There's a polarity to everything. So you're going to be on the top side one day, and you're going to be on the low side another day.
Alternating current, right? It goes up and down.
Exactly. So you just got to ride the wave of life, and you're going to definitely have challenges. You're definitely going to have failures, and you got to look at them positively, because I had a failure, for example, talking about the book real quick. Why did I write the book, or how did it happen? How I was so busy in some other things, but I had to shut down part of my business to have enough time to write my book. When I got my book out of it, I didn't focus. I didn't know that while I was closing part of my business until afterwards.
So it wasn't a plan to close the business.
No. The plan wasn't to close, but it was a tunnel I went through. It was a huge challenge, a huge failure. I questioned everything about myself. And then as I came out of that tunnel, I realized, and you talk about the voice spoke to me and said, you got to write your book. This is the time.
Beautiful.
So I got my book out of it. So it's something I've always wanted to do.
And that book, I believe, is going to be a legacy for so many people to read down the road. I haven't read it yet. I heard anything about it yet. So I already got the book. Now I got your magic moments. So I got two things I'm taking away from this podcast. So again, I want to thank you for being here today. We're moving on to question number 4. What would you like your legacy to be? I know we talked about what your sons wanted to do after we talked about leaving the country with their bank accounts. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, no, I think my legacy is ever changing, and it never changes. It's sort of hard to put into words what you really want to leave behind. But I think it's mostly about serving others and creating their own. And whether that's helping my wife have a great relationship with her husband, having my children have a great child experience with their father, having my employees have a great experience at work with the leader of the company, or my friends and their friendship, or how I can serve the community and having a better community with the actions that I do voluntarily, well, then I think I'm living my legacy. And I think legacy is made up of various components, and I think we need to work on all of them.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for that. Some great insights right there. So let's talk about the book. What's the name of the book?
So the book is called Legacy: How Leaders Transcend the Past, Balance the Present, and Serve for Generations.
Say that one more time.
Legacy: How Leaders Transcend the Past, Balance the Present, and Serve for Generations.
So what does transcendence mean to you?
So transcendence means to elevate, right? So when I think of transcendence, it's mostly elevating in consciousness. And to put it in simpler terms, maybe get over the hump. So, if we have stories or things that limit us, or there's something that, happened to us when we were younger or just recently, or failures that we still carry with us, and that doesn't allow us to move forward or achieve our desires and dreams, well, there's a necessity to transcend that past. And I think that many leaders carry with them those big, heavy rocks, those traumas, and they're not able to transcend the past. Because until we transcend the past, we won't be able to focus on the present.
So basically, they're still in the warrior fight mode, and they can't transcend what they knowledge and all the experiences they learned over their careers that dies with them.
Exactly. Well, not only that, but you're never going to be able to focus in the present moment if you're always thinking about what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened in the past.
And again, Eckhart talks a lot about that in The Power of Now.
Yeah.
How he's like, you got to be here in the present.
Right.
How can you be? And you talk a little bit about balance. We talk about integration here in the brotherhood. How can we make all this work where I don't get so stressed out about my pool filter? Now my family's inside suffering because I'm out here arguing with the pool.
Yeah.
How crazy how our mind works.
Yeah. And you're suffering inside.
Exactly. Now you bring the energy inside, and everybody inside is going to feel the energy because you're angry at the pool filter.
Yeah, exactly.
So ultimately, we have to separate those things. And when we go into the family moment, we have to take that stuff off, put it on the pool deck, walk inside a different person. Otherwise, the people inside that house are going to take on that energy.
Yeah, when I come home from work, I literally make an invisible. You remember Mr. Rogers growing up?
Yeah.
So he would come home and change his shoes. So what I do, I have some invisible hats in my car. So I park the car home from the office, slaying dragons all day, and I literally swap hats. And then, smile comes on my face, and I walk into my house with a different hat on. Because if I bring all that in, my kids are going to be, robbed of their dad experience. My wife is going to be robbed of a happy husband experience. So that's not what I want to give for my family.
That's great insight for you guys listening out there. I hope you got your journal out and your notepad, because writing down these insights and all these things from a great business mind like John Marco, these are the things of how you got to where you are based upon changing those hats.
Yeah.
Based upon leaving the turmoil back to wherever it came from. And going into your house, when you walk into your house, and I'm guilty of it. Kathy, you know this too. I walk in, she knows when I'm in warrior mode. I'm out there fighting the battle, slaying dragons. She's like, watch out, he's in work mode. Get out of Joe's way, he's crazy. And then my mind just thinks about going from A to B. Anything's in my way, it's going to get destroyed. So I have to be very cognizant of that. Change those hats before I walk into the house.
Yeah, and
she's just there to love you when you walk in. Hey, how you doing, baby? How about a big kiss?
Exactly.
And you're still in warrior mode. There's going to be no passion there.
And not only that, but and we're not perfect. I mean, we're gonna have moments that where we drift or we're in misalignment of what we desire and
far from perfect.
Yeah.
Brother.
And so it's just the matter of identifying that as quick as possible. Right now I've been on vacation with my family. I'm 24/7 with my kids for 3 weeks now. Almost.
Yeah, so talk about that. You left the country and then you came here to the United States.
So we were on
all the way up north and
some forced vacations.
Connected with nature.
No, forced vacations because of this.
Forced.
Yeah, forced.
And forest.
Yeah. And then we had a planned vacation. So we've been with the kids and all that, and 24/7 with 5 people, 3 kids, road tripping. Hats
no private time.
Hats are no private time. Hats, single bathrooms. Hats are going to be dropped, and there's some energy is going to be out of whack there. But it's all about the overall experience, and making sure that you have those real high points, and completely have many more high points and positive points than low points. Now,
some of those magic moments, did they transpire over these last 30 days? I know you were down in New York City watching the fireworks. You were up north at the Maine. I saw you up there eating some lobsters, fish out there, 60-degree water up there.
Yeah. No, I mean, all that's created. When the magic, I think that's why people love to travel, because they get to imagine the trip beforehand. And there's elements of my trips. There's always like a secret thing that I package in my suitcase, either for my wife, whether it's a mystery date or something like that, or for my kids. For my kids this time, it was a bike ride in the forest and in trails, and that was able to happen.
That's awesome, brother. And that's one of the things I really love about you, John Marco, is you're tapped into your business, you're tapped into your family, you're tapped into your faith. All these things, we talk about the integration of all those things coming together, you're living it. That's why you can sit here calm, knowing that pretty soon you'll be going home to chaos again.
Yeah.
But you're calm, having that knowingness about you, that somehow, some way, between God, yourself, and your family, your employees, your businesses, you're going to find a way.
Well, I think there's a point in time where whether it's in leadership or in entrepreneurship or in family or in health or whatever, that you face enough challenges that you realize you're not in control. And releasing that control and being at peace with that release, I think that's one of the biggest lessons in life.
And as you say that, the vision of let go that I posted yesterday on Facebook from a year ago came up, and it says, let God, let go, and the deed disappears, right? You let go. The hardest thing that all of us have to do is to let go.
Yeah.
Because if we let go, who are we? If I let go and I fall deeply in love and I get hurt, if I let go of the people in my business, and my business is going to fall apart, that's the scariest proposition for all of us.
Yeah.
Is letting go.
Because for me, my example was, my process was that, I was attached to my titles, a successful entrepreneur. And then when I started, one of my businesses started going through rough patches, I questioned my entire existence. And then I said, I'm much more than this.
And then when you let go, you wrote a book.
And then I wrote a book about it.
Now that book's going to transcend. You see how this all plays out? It's just trusting the process. I just threw these questions together this morning. We're just having this conversation. This was not planned.
Yeah.
And how it all just fell together perfectly, exactly how God's plan is working for us is what I believe.
Yeah.
We're just here having an experience.
Yeah. So it's exciting. Because you know that when you go through the challenge, if you have that faith and you have that release and that flexibility within you, you know that there's opportunity coming towards you very soon. And in the meantime, you can just, love your family, be grateful for the things you do have. 4th of July, I was blessed to be here in one of the most spectacular settings, right in front of the Statue of Liberty.
Talk about freedom and what Lady Liberty means to this country from France.
And right now that our country is going through, essentially all of our liberties are being stepped on and violated and being killed literally. You just see that, and that experience means so much more. And
everything happens on his time, right? So here you are looking at Lady Liberty, knowing what she means, and then back home, your kids donated to the freedom fighters, is what I call them. They're fighting for their freedom.
Exactly.
In our country, we're sitting here just enjoying barbecue on 4th of July and talking about how we doing in our families, what's going on in business. You're at home. People at home are fighting for their actually freedoms, their liberties, their everything.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me to even fathom. And here we are in 2018, we're talking about countries fighting for their freedom. Still, after all these years.
Yeah.
So lastly, let's talk about our codes. I know when I joined the Next Level experience, and I went through and I kept doing these ritual things and all these meditations, all these things that are coming to me. I broke down my code to be the 3 C's. Mm-hmm. We talked about, I think, in episode 2 or 3 in this Rise as One podcast, the connection, the creation, and the contribution. You like me, we love to contribute. You like me, we like to create. You like me, it's like all 3 of these C's come together as one. It's like in our DNA. How did a guy from Nicaragua and some guy up here on the East Coast sitting here today having this conversation, how did that come to be about? Because we are energetically similar to this. So what is your code?
So my code, I detail it in the book, and I call it the Legacy Element System. So it's pretty much an acronym for legacy, so it's easy to remember. So it's love, energy, grounded reality, abundance, connection to source, and you. So each one has a chapter dedicated to it, and they all integrate into each other. So that's the beautiful part about it. And so I go into that in detail in the book, and then I go and talk about on how to get out of the tunnel. So whenever we're facing tunnels in life, some of the ways to get out of the tunnel, and sort of my process on how I got out of mine. And then pretty much challenge the reader in urgency and in discipline to start applying the legacy system in their life.
Today.
Yes.
Don't wait till tomorrow. Start it today.
To begin to create. You begin creating your legacy as you transcend the past, ruling your legacy as you balance the present, and expanding your legacy as you serve for generations.
Love it, brother. I love it. Well, thank you, John Marco, for being here, my brother.
Joe, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure to see you. I'm glad I was able to see you, man.
Yeah.
You could not even been here today.
Yeah.
After all the stuff that was going down, and I saw that one video you posted, and you had a bulletproof vest on, and your family left the country. I'm like, I couldn't even imagine what that would look like.
Yeah.
And then all this, you still got the book coming out. Where can we find the book Legacy? Where can we
find it? It'll be coming out in August, and it'll be on Amazon, in physical and paperback, and in the e-versions.
What about the audio version, man? I'm not a big reader. Come on.
We'll have the audio version. Just give me a little bit more time.
I'll do a fundraiser so we can do the audio version.
Don't worry.
I will start reading it, but I know what happens to me. I'm like that doll thing. I start laying down and I read
start falling asleep?
something. I go right to sleep.
Yeah.
When you see how I am, right? If I'm upright, I'll just keep on going like the Energizer button. You lay me down, going to sleep.
Yeah. But we'll you can follow me on GM Palazzo. It's PALAZIO.com or GM Palazzo on Instagram, Facebook, and also I'm on LinkedIn too. So
That's GM Palazzo.
G is in
GM Palazzo.
Yep.
And I was calling you John. I couldn't figure it out when I first met you. I'm not I don't know. I'm not all this properness with all these.
Yeah.
Can't you just put JOHN for us American guys? No, it's GIAN. Okay, Gian.
Gian
So I'm calling him
Marco.
Gian. He's like, no, it's John. I'm like, okay, sorry, John.
Gianmarco Palazzo.
Gianmarco Palazios. Thanks again,
Thank you,
brother. I really
Good to see you,
appreciate you, man.
man.
It's
God
good to
bless.
see you.
And
Safe travels
thank
home.
you. I wish you the best
Continue
with
the
the
prayers
podcast.
and sending blessings for you and your family and your loved ones. I know when you get back home, I want to see you posting on Facebook Live that soccer match between you and your kids back on that beach that I've been seeing you so lovely in time. But I know ultimately, in the end, if we stick together, if everybody sticks together, not everyone's going to come with us. When I say everyone, the majority rises as one. All will be possible. Thank you. brother.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for
Safe
having me.
travels. Love you, man. Have a great day. Well.